Welcome back to Hot Reads. It's time to talk NFL with Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. My name is Tom Vandervoort, and Troy, you are back in the NFC East this week. The New York Giants host the Washington Redskins. I know that's a rematch of the game you saw in Week 1 down in Landover, and I want to talk about the Giants because last week, on the verge of losing their 5th straight game, fourth quarter comeback engineered by Eli Manning, and for all the talk of Tim Tebow, Eli Manning has been pretty darn good in the fourth quarter, especially this season. 14 fourth-quarter touchdown passes has already tied an NFL record. And I want to talk about performing in those situations where you're behind in the fourth quarter. Do some guys thrive when they're, in a sense, forced to take more risk?
Well, I think it's a good question. It's a good point. And the short answer to that is yes. I think Eli he's been good really every game, all 4 quarters for the most part. I mean, the guy's just been absolutely phenomenal. You talk about how well he's played in the fourth quarter. Nobody's played better. He leads the NFL in quarterback rating in the fourth quarter. 5 comeback wins when trailing in the fourth quarter. He saved their season last week against the Cowboys. So, he's a unique player. I think if you look at, what Tim Tebow, for instance, has been able to do, he plays better as the game moves along. And there are some quarterbacks that are like that. There are some guys that perform much better when the game's on the line. We've seen that, over the years. Roger Staubach was certainly one of those guys, John Elway and Joe Montana. And Eli Manning has shown some of the same qualities, certainly this year, but also in years past.
What about the mentality when you're behind in the fourth quarter? Do you know that you have to take more risks? Or are you just, they tell baseball pitchers to kind of trust their stuff. Do you just have to kind of trust your arm and make some throws that you might not otherwise make?
Well, I think that, it depends on the situation. I know that, when you're behind and you have to make plays, it's pretty much laid out there for you. So the approach to the game obviously is different than in the fourth quarter as it would be early in a game. And that's true throughout the entire ball game, that you have to evaluate what the situation is. And so when you get into the fourth quarter and you're down a couple scores and you're running out of time, yeah, you've got to take some chances that you wouldn't take earlier in the game. And so in a lot of ways, that kind of frees a quarterback up, and he's able to just go out and play instinctively. And like I said, that's what we've seen really from Tim Tebow in Denver. Early in a game, you know what the game plan is. You go in a little bit uptight maybe for some guys. And then as the game moves along, you get into a little bit of a comfort zone. And then in the fourth quarter, you're basically just reacting and being more of an athlete as opposed to a guy who comes into the game early and trying to be so precise with each and every throw or with each and every possession. And so it definitely has freed him up from what I've seen as the games have moved along.
Now, speaking of comfort zones, the Redskin fans haven't been in a comfort zone for probably about 20 years, at least going on 20 years. And this season has looked a lot like the seasons of the recent past in the Dan Snyder era. Yet we have Mike Shanahan, a veteran coach, Bruce Allen, a veteran general manager in there. Is there anything changing in Washington? Because from the outside, it doesn't really look like there is. But do you see any signs that the team is taking a different direction?
I haven't yet. There's a lot of discussion about how well they played offensively last week. They went against, one of the worst defenses in football. Nobody's given up more big plays in the passing game than New England has. And so it's a difficult team then to try to judge. The Redskins are. At least from an offensive standpoint, as to where the real improvement has come. They've had a number of injuries, some key guys certainly on IR, which has hurt them. But that's true of a lot of teams. The team they're facing this week, the New York Giants, lead the division, lead the NFC East, and they've had a number of injuries, and yet they've found a way to win. They'd lost 4 in a row, but they found a way to keep their season alive. So, Washington, it's no secret. If you're going to be good in this league, you got to have great production at quarterback. They've not had that. They've not had it this year. They've not had it for a number of years. They were wrong on the pick last year in Donovan McNabb, and they've been wrong this year as far as production at the quarterback position. And that, along with some of the other things that have happened to the team with injuries, is why they're where they're at. But until they address that and get that fixed, it's going to be a team that's going to continue to struggle.
Well, there you go, and that takes us to Tom Brady heading to Denver with the New England Patriots. Obviously, a marquee player. 7th-round pick, you did pretty well with that if you're the New England Patriots. And I have to ask you, when I look at the top teams in the league, I think obviously about the Packers, and I think about the Saints, and I think about the Patriots. And those 3 teams have something in common, which is stellar offense and some questions on the defensive side of the ball. And we used to always say, hey, defense wins championships. But if I look at the NFL right now, I'm at least asking the question, does offense now win championships in the NFL? Is this such an offensive league that offense wins championships? Is that a fair thing to say?
I think it's very fair, and I think that's been the case for a long time. I think if you look over the history of the game and who has won championships, there's been a lot of offenses on those Super Bowl winners, and that's not to dismiss the importance of defense. And some of the teams that I was on had great defenses. But you better be able to score points in this league if you're going to win a world championship and win a lot of games. I mean, that's what the game has become. And also you got to be able to throw the ball. We still hear people say you've got to be able to run the ball and you've got to be able to stop the run. And it's just cliches to me that the league has really changed, and you can do a lot of things stopping the run and still have teams go out and put 30 points on you. We've seen it. We've seen it in Green Bay. We've seen it in New York. We see it in New England. There's a number of teams that don't run the ball great that are pretty explosive offensively, and it's because they can throw the ball. And I think if I was playing defense against some of those teams, I think I'd like to shut down the pass.
Absolutely. And speaking of Brady, another interesting thing from his perspective was the argument he got into on the sidelines with offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien last week in D.C. And from your perspective, I mean, you've been that marquee player. We don't see that a lot. Just give us some perspective on that. Is that a big deal or not such a big deal, those two getting into it on the sideline?
I don't think it's a big deal at all. I mean, unfortunately for those participants, there's cameras that catch everything that happens. And I can assure you that things get pretty emotional on the sidelines. And I was someone who would get a little bit hot-headed on the sidelines myself and would have encounters with coaches. And and it's all, as we saw in the New England game with Tom, that once the game's over, it's over, and they move on, and it's not an issue this week. And it doesn't look great when it's captured on television, but I don't think it's a big deal whatsoever. I think you could find that type of confrontation virtually each and every week on both sidelines.
When you've achieved as much as Tom Brady has, and you obviously had your 3 Super Bowl wins, I mean, you have a certain stature level of stature in the league and a level of accomplishment. Is it hard for coaches to coach you? Do you want coaches to coach you? How does that dynamic play out?
No, I think all players, want coaching, and no matter how much maybe someone has accomplished. And Tom Brady, I thought his comments after the game were excellent. Whether that was a clear picture on exactly what happened, I don't know. But I can assure you that Tom Brady's getting coached in New England. Bill Belichick and the rest of that staff, that's what they do. But I think that all players, regardless of experience level or what they've accomplished, they want to be coached up. And granted that as you are coaching someone who's had as much success as a Tom Brady, you don't have to coach him quite as much as what you do some of the younger players, but the players want it nevertheless.
Very good. All right, Troy, thank you so much. Enjoy your trip to New York, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.